What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for joining us. This is the PG Pitt Show on the Post-Gazette's dedicated YouTube channel dedicated to coverage of the Pitt Panthers. I'm Stephen Thompson. That's Abby Schnable. We both cover the Pitt Panthers for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Abby, we are less than 48 hours away from kickoff of Pitt's first game of the season. Pitt and Duquesne will kick off at noon on Saturday afternoon from Acrisure Stadium on the North Shore. I could not be more excited. Say what you will about an FCS game, say what you will about what the spread is. It's going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be great to be back in a stadium. I had an old high school basketball coach who always told me that the closer you get to game day, the air starts to feel a little cleaner, colors are brighter, music sounds better, food tastes better. So I couldn't be more excited to kind of feel the energy in the stadium and kick off the college football season really in earnest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited because it's my first game on the beat. I feel like we've been building up to this, and now it's finally here. I attended games last year, but it's just a little bit of a different feel. And then just the fact that I have covered Duquesne a little bit before, like it's kind of like the perfect game for me to start off the season, especially just to have that city game. Like we don't get a lot of city games these days in Pittsburgh, and to kick off the football season with one is very exciting.
Absolutely. I think I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, there's going to be a great crowd there. No better way to kick off football season in Pittsburgh than with two Pittsburgh teams going at it. So let's get right into it, Abby. Obviously an FCS game, FCS opponent from the Pitt side of things. Pitt's going to be a heavy favorite. But give me something that I think – when you think about these games, you're thinking more about process for Pitt. How do they look? Not necessarily do you get out of there with a win or not. I mean, you want to win the game, but I think that's kind of expected at this point. But give me something along those lines, something that you are hoping to see or something that you are excited to see on Saturday afternoon from the Panthers.
Yeah, I really want to see these true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, the less experienced guys that are untested get a significant amount of time on the field, which I think they have a good chance of doing. I want to see guys like Tony Kinsler, Sean Lee, Josh Guerrier. You could go down the list just because they are untested, but they've been so hyped up. So I really just want to see how they're able to translate that onto the field, because this is a great opportunity playing an FCS team to, spread your wings. You can make a little flubs. You can also really show out in that game. And this is the best opportunity for them to do that. So yeah, just with the amount of freshmen that are on this two deep, and maybe they even go beyond the two deep. Like I want to see them get their feet wet. I want to see them make plays, and I want to see them not make mistakes. How about you?
I just real quickly, I agree. I think 10 true freshmen on the offensive and defensive depth chart, guys who are going to get a lot of playing time. And I think you just want to see kind of some competency of the playbook, some understanding of procedures and everything like that. Clean football all around.
Yeah.
I'm looking for this offensive line to really push people around. You brought it up earlier, and we'll get into it a little bit later when we kind of look at Duquesne a little bit more closely. But Duquesne's got a pretty experienced defensive line, a group with some chemistry that's played together. Pitt introducing some new guys. How do they handle some of the communication stuff? How do they handle stunts? How do they kind of pass off blocking assignments, take on new ones? You just want to see clean football from that offensive line. You want to see them execute, but also I want to see them push them around, and I want to see some real movement in the run game. You're going to have a size and a talent advantage. Let's put it to good use. Let's inspire some confidence in this offensive line and get pointed in the right direction going into week 2. Abby, let's flip to the other side of things. Let's think a little differently here. What's something that maybe coming out of training camp that you were curious about, or dare I even say concerned about, that you want to see maybe addressed, or that you're keeping an eye on Saturday afternoon?
I'm kind of stealing your answer from what you're excited to see, just in the fact that I'm not worried, probably is too strong of a word, about this offensive line, but and we'll get into this a little bit more, as Steven said, they're going up against a really solid defensive line that has a lot of chemistry, and this is an offensive line for Pitt that is new. Even the 3 that are returning struggled last year, and yeah, that had to do with injuries, but I'm just a little nervous that is this group going to be able to bond and get gelled really quickly, open those holes, like you said, keep Eli off the ground, or Cole or Mason, whoever is there, just because they're very untested. They're probably the most untested unit as a whole, just in the fact that they haven't had to, go up against any other defense than Pitt's. And so I'm a little wary about that. I mean, I think they have the talent, especially with the guys that they replaced, Jeff Percy and Keith Govia, having those guys with BJ Williams, Lyndon Cooper, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Ryan Bear. There we go. I just, like you said, you want to see him push him around, and with the strength of Duquesne's defensive line, I don't know how easy that's going to be if they're not all together.
Absolutely. It's going to need to be a connected effort. And, you kind of come out of the gates with, an opponent that, like I said, you have a talent and a size advantage over. But, if Duquesne's going to have any success, it's going to be because that unit up front is able to create some havoc and make things a little bit more difficult on Pitt. I'm looking to the other side of the ball. I think this might be a little obvious, but that linebacker group, not necessarily, are they able to make plays, but how does this group rotate? What bodies are they bringing in, and when? Is Emmanuel Taylor an option there? How much is Nick Lappy going to be used at Mike linebacker? Is he going to bump out to play a little outside at all? How much do they rest Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles when the game is still kind of in doubt? I think we're going to get to a point where Pitt starts to phase out a bunch of their starters if this game goes how I expect it to and how many expect it to. But when the game is still, especially that first half and maybe a little bit into the third quarter, how long are Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles able to stay on the field? I think especially Rasheem Biles is really interesting just because he only played about 54% of the available defensive snaps last year. That's way below what Kyle Lewis and Brandon George were playing as other starting linebackers. So that linebacker rotation after the two major injuries to Jeremiah Marcelin and Jaden Bonsu, that is what I am looking out for. And referenced it earlier, but Abby, you were able to get out to Duquesne practice, talk to Coach Schmidt over in the Dukes a little bit yesterday. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you learned about Duquesne and what Pitt fans should know about their opponent this Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, they're coming in with this nothing to lose mentality, which is exactly what an FCS team needs to do in this environment. They have a lot of Whitfield guys on this team who have gotten the chance to play in Acrisure and some that haven't. So there's a lot of excitement just around that as well. I think some key things, we already touched on it. The defensive line is really, really solid. Not only do they have like returners in AJ Ackerman and Jack Dunkley returning, but they added a Virginia Tech transfer and I'm going to say his name wrong, but Finn Later. So that's a really solid group there. Another group that needs to be watched out for, I'm less worried about this just with the strength of Pitt's D-line, but they do return all 5 of their offensive linemen, which is huge. Same with the defensive backs. Strength is really good. I mean, Antonio Epps at safety has continuously been a name that comes up for this Duquesne team. But I do think there are some holes that Pitt is going to easily exploit in the fact that their whole new linebacker core it's a whole new group. And so if Pitt is able to really take advantage of that, that should help. Obviously, they've got the defensive backs ready to kind of make up for that. But there's that. And I think the other big thing that I'm noticing is on the offensive end, they lost their leading running back. They do return their leading wide receiver, but they have a brand new quarterback, and that is an advantage that Pitt has over them in that they have the continuity in their offense, whereas a new quarterback, you really never know how they're going to be able to go out. I mean, he transferred from Gardner Webb, Tyler Riddell. He had 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions last season, which not a great number, especially for an FCS program. And so I don't know. I think that's an area that Pitt should, especially the defensive line. I won't be surprised if they get some decent sacks in there if the offensive line, or if they're able to find holes in Duquesne's offensive line.
Yeah, 11 interceptions. That stands out to me because another thing that I'm looking out for is how this Pitt secondary plays, especially at the corner spot. But it sounds like there's going to be some balls up in the air, maybe some opportunities to come down with interceptions and other turnovers. So Cruz Brookins, keep an eye out for him. But also some of these cornerbacks, which I feel like it's a completely wide open room still, even after 4 weeks of camp and week of game prep. I feel like we still don't know who Pitt's two best cornerbacks are. So I think whoever's able to get their hands on the ball is going to kind of separate themselves in that room. And it sounds like there'll be plenty of opportunities to do that, at least in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's Pitt has the advantage. I'm sure Steven has the over-under to share here in a second, or just the stat line in general, the betting line. Pitt should have the advantage. The holes that Duquesne has are easily exploitable from the strengths that Pitt has. It's really the only way to success I see for Duquesne is exploiting Pitt's offensive line with their really solid defensive line. But as you pointed out, it's a talent, it's a size difference. The Pitt's O-line is a lot bigger. And everyone's just a lot bigger on Pitt compared to Duquesne. And so I think if Pitt plays how they're supposed to play, it should be an easy day, should be getting those freshmen in pretty early. And maybe that's when we see a little bit of those errors. But, I think it's just going to be a good start for the Panthers, hopefully.
Well, let's expand on that a little bit, because like you said, you think it's going to be a good start for the Panthers. I think if we were in a normal week, we might just pick winners of the game. But I think we're both pretty comfortably on the side of Pitt. I think we're going to win this game. But our friends from FanDuel have I want to ask you, Abby, do you think that Pitt is able to cover that 37.5 points, or will the Dukes keep it a little bit closer than that?
They should cover that 37.5. I think the only way they don't is just when Narduzzi is able to throw in those younger guys and get them reps. Maybe that's when you don't see it as close, or you don't see it as big of a gap. But Pitt's offense is going to be a challenge for this Duquesne team. I mean, they really haven't seen a team that plays this fast. The example that Antonio Epps gave me was Toledo, which you've seen Toledo play. Yes, they're fast paced, but it's just a little different than any FBS program in general. And so Pitt should be able to cover it. I don't like betting I'm never right in my bets. So I'm going to say they're going to cover it, but I'm probably going to be wrong because I'm never good at that stuff.
Well, as long as you don't put any money down on it, you have plausible deniability. No. I'm kind of with you. 37.5 is just a lot of points.
Yeah.
I think if I was betting this, I would probably be on the Duquesne side of this, and I, see a number that big and just think it's fun to bet on the really heavy underdogs. It's a pacing thing. It's a number of possessions thing. To win a game by upwards of 38 points is pretty hard to do. So I'd fall on the Duquesne side of things. And really quickly, Abby, over under point total at 55.5. You going over or under on that?
Oh, I'm taking the over. I think I hope Pitt's offense is able to really show that they've grown from those last 6 games from last year. And you're seeing not just Eli running the ball, not just Des running the ball, but you're seeing the wide receivers getting really active. And I do think I'm going to give Duquesne the benefit of the doubt. They're going to get some points somewhere along the line. So they're going to also add to that point. So yeah, I feel comfortable with that over.
I don't. To be quite honest with you, I think I'm going to take the under. I think Pitt is going to kind of sit on Duquesne a little bit. I think this defensive line and this front seven is going to be really suffocating. And, I think eventually Pitt is going to be able to call the dogs off. And even with an aggressive guy like Kade Bell calling the plays, I think that over is going to be pretty tough to hit. That's where we're going to leave things for this week. We will see you guys at Acrisure Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Stay tuned for more coverage from Pitt, Duquesne this weekend, and everything else from the rest of football season. Make sure you tune into Abby's volleyball show with Kat Flood. First episode came out today. Really exciting stuff. We're really glad to have her on our channel and being a recurring guest as well. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Pitt Panthers on the Post-Gazette YouTube network so you don't miss anything. And like I said, we'll see you guys all on Saturday from Acrisure Stadium. And until then, goodbye.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.